Well, it's the middle of the day on what's purported to be the hottest day on record in the UK, and I'm not over here to work, but I thought I'd come over here, well, on a sort of reporting responsibility, just to show you what's happening, what the temperatures are in the Polytunnel, and give you some sort of idea of UK extreme weather. It's extreme for us anyway. And looking around, well, the plot's faring fine. It was watered last night, and I would say that everything's enjoying photosynthesizing to the max, and everything looks okay, nothing wilted. I did notice yesterday that I'm starting to see some dying back of the leaves on the Globo, and the onions are sort of darkening up and being a little bit brown. I don't know whether that's because I've got a bit of white rot in there, because I've certainly got a different size of onion down here. I mean, the actual onions are that much bigger, and same on the other side. So this middle section, I've got my doubts, but who knows, might just be that their time is up and it's time for the onions to sort of keel over, ready for harvesting. I noticed that the Bedfordshire champions are starting to lose that green coloration, and we're starting to see a bit of yellowing of the leaves, and one or two of them also looking a little bit more forlorn. So might be nearing the onion time, that's for sure. Which reminds me, Mrs. K wants me to take back some garlic, which I will do. One plant that is making the most of this scorching weather is the squash and pumpkins. They just seem to, well, really soak up all the heat, and I've got some runners coming out now, which is an excellent sign. I really would like some runners out of here, and then I could bring them across to these rather forlorn looking stations, but generally they're doing well with this additional heat that we're experiencing, and the fruit are certainly forming quite nicely. That one's turning a bit yellow, which is a bit suspect. That might mean it's going to drop off, but all in all, I think this is one plant that's really benefiting from the additional heat. Well, let's have a look in the Polytunnel, shaded to the best of my ability. I notice most YouTubers doing something about broadcasting their shading attempts. So I think it's 38 outside at the moment, is the predicted peak. On my thermometer back home, it looked like 32. So let's have a look in here. Well, there's certainly a lot sort of, well, shadier. That was the plan. And heat wise, today we've had a maximum of 42. We're currently sitting at 41. So really was necessary in here, and it does feel stiflingly hot. But I think all in all, it's going to do the job. And today is really the hottest day, and tomorrow we're thinking that we're going to get another very hot day, but not quite the extremes, and then all change for the following day. So will be interesting. The thing that has gone absolutely loopy is the raspberries. When you consider how many raspberries I've had off of these bushes, and they're absolutely laden. This heat is just turning them so quickly, and they appear on the face of it to be getting somewhat larger. Look at the size of these. Absolutely amazing. Refreshment in the middle of a hot day. Well, I'm not going to hang around here for any longer, really. There is no chance of doing any work in this weather. It wouldn't be good for me, and it wouldn't be good for the plants. But it's good just to do a bit of a check on it and see how everything's faring. I've just given the chickens some frozen sweet corn as prepared by Mrs. K. Good times. Well, I've just had a bit of a moment. I saw a cat, one of the many, and it was sort of pursuing something, and then I heard a squeal, so I thought I'd go and rescue it. It turned out to be a frog. So I did pick it up. It was in good order. I put it down by the pond. I thought I was going to be able to film it for you, but it shot into the pond and went down the deep. So saved a life this morning. Good times. Well, although I've got a fair amount of water left, I'm going to fill up today because this warm weather is going through it like nobody's business. I hosed everything down last night and yeah, it's looking okay. You can still see a little bit of damp there from hosing last night, and of course that's the benefit of doing it at night. It just stays in the ground for that much longer and hopefully gets to the roots of the plants. I wonder what the Polytunnel is looking like this morning in terms of temperatures. Let's just have a quick look. We've got more ripe tomatoes in here, and it hit 42 yesterday, which isn't too bad, and we're up to 29.1 so far this morning. Right, water. There we go, refill underway, and that will ensure that over the next few weeks, when we get any more warm weather, I'm good to go. Well, these beans are getting pretty well established now. Most of them have got to the top, and even where I've got a bit of a misfire going on, I've started to see something winding up the cane. And pretty much everywhere I look, apart from these two, were doing quite well. And now this morning I noticed both of these have got, well, beans climbing up them. That's what we want. So this is getting to the sort of density where if I don't weed it now, I won't get the chance, because it thickens out and makes it really challenging to get in. So I'm going to just go through quickly and take out anything that shouldn't be in here. And it's lots of this, I think it's called speedwell. It's a tiny little blue flower. So we'll get that out. And I've also got something I'll show you in here when I'm weeded. Right, let's get on. There we go. Not too much weed under there, but it's good to get rid of it because it's only going to get bigger and bigger as it gets shaded and I water it. And what I wanted to show you is the number of beans already. There's a few developing there. There's a nice cluster developing there. And as I go around, so I keep seeing new developing beans, which is fantastic. There's quite a lot in there. Decent size. So it won't be long before we're working on the run of beans. Good times. Well, it's been the most amazing fruit year and we're still picking like mad. You can see the berries, these red currants, they're absolutely everywhere. And we've picked, well, thousands and thousands. We've done, I think, 3 batches now of red currant jelly and one with raspberry, which is fantastic. And on the subject of raspberries, last night, off camera, I know, doesn't happen very often, but off camera, I had to pick more raspberries because I sensed after the heat of yesterday, there was quite a lot that were going to be damaged if I left them any further. And off of these 2 runs, I picked another 4.5 pounds, which is absolutely stunning. And I can see right now that there's so many more to come. I just can't believe how many raspberries I've had off of these 2 runs. And as for in here, well, they're so much more difficult to pick. But you can see here what happens to them. They sort of start to dry up and then you've really had it. And these in here are really past their best. So there is some merit in keeping picking, and then you make sure that all the ones that are ripening are prime raspberries. What a fantastic berry year. Well, this area here is, well, tamed now, but I've had a bit of a request from Mrs. K. She finds these a bit steep because, well, she won't mind me saying, but she's got short legs. So I'm thinking I could create some sort of handrail, and I got plenty of wood, but it needs to be thicker, stronger stuff so that it's sturdy. So I'm just going to root through this wood and see if there's anything that I could use. I don't think I'm going to be doing it today. It's just going to be too warm. But the forecast says we're in for a lot cooler temperatures, so it's a job coming up. I'm going to need quite a bit more than that, but it's a start. I'll keep my eye out and see what else we've got. The rest of this is that thin batten, and it's just not going to do the job for taking anybody's weight if they lean on it. So park that one for now, keep my eye out for materials. Now that volunteer tomato that was in the leek bed, I've come to the conclusion it is the house variety, which is absolutely amazing. And it started to flower. I'm hopeful that I'll get some fruit off it. I've never actually got a single tomato ripened out of the polytunnel here, and it's usually because the temperatures are just not high enough. But maybe with all this warm weather, this year will be the exception. Who knows? Be good to pick fruit off of that. Well, I need to tidy this path up. It's one that I've not done anything with for some time. So I'm just going to get it weeded, and then I've got a bit of an announcement. I'll tell you after this. Oh, that was a good bit of exercise. Right, well, as you know, we've got a few hens on the plot, and last year we found that for the silkies at least, it was just too much in the winter, too wet here, and they were getting very wet indeed. So we decided to make quite a big decision, and we put them in the polytunnel. And the 3 birds that we had at that time spent the winter in the polytunnel, and I'm pretty sure they were pretty happy. And a lot of you flagged that there was risk with that because foxes can easily get into a polytunnel, and well, I hate to think of the consequences. Now, if you watch one of my videos a little while back, you'll see that I had a cat inside the polytunnel that decided to stay in while I locked it up, and it scratched its way out of the polytunnel, and it just drove home to me how simply something could get in there. Well, I've weighed up the decision about what to do, and I've come to the decision that it's time to part with the silkies. And well, it's difficult, but what I'm clear about is there's only 2 left. We started with a flock of 5 birds, and they've had a good life, but gradually they've dwindled, and there's just the 2 left. And I'm very fearful that if there was only 1 left, that would be really unfortunate. So the good news is I found a great place to rehome them. And some of you will know that one of my friends, allotment friends, is Danny from the Grapevine Allotment. And I said to Danny a long time ago that when I come to the point where I'm going to part with the silkies, it'll be difficult to find somewhere to house them. And he said, well, if you get to that point, give me a shout and I will take them on. So I'm incredibly grateful to Danny for doing that, because it means that we've got the peace of mind of knowing that they've gone to a great home and he loves the chickens. And it also means that I can watch them on his channel. Fantastic. So next week on Monday, I'm going to go down to Danny's and take the silkies with me and introduce them to his flock, and Danny's going to take over their care, which is fantastic. And it also gives me a great opportunity to go and have a real nose around Danny's plot, which he and I have been talking about now for probably well over a year, but this is the moment. So looking forward to that episode. I'll film my trip to Danny's, and Danny says that he's got an awful lot of bark chippings there, and if I wanted to gather some, I could. So even better, I get some of these paths sorted out which have been, let's say, compromised for a long time. So I'm really looking forward to that. Thanks to Danny, and I'll take you over and we'll have a look at his plot. I'm sure we'll have a great time. Good times. I keep looking at the pond to see if I can see that frog surfaced anywhere. What I can see is a newt. There's a lovely newt trying to climb up on that lily leaf. So the pond has got a goodly amount of life in it. Certainly got lots of newts. Whilst I've got a bit of shade, because the sun is coming through now, but there's a bit of cloud, I'm just going to give these young parsnips and my beans a little bit of a water before I start refilling the second IBC tank. And if you can water in a bit of shade, then it does stay on the ground for a little bit longer, but it's nearly getting to that point this morning where watering would be a complete waste of time because things are going to evaporate. Right, let's get that tank filled. Now, one of the plants that I can water during the day, not because of the type of plant it is, but it's the squash. And I can water them because I've got these tubes, and the tubes enable me to water straight down into the soil. So it hadn't occurred to me before, but it's another great advantage of putting tubes into the ground for those water thirsty plants. So I'm just going to work my way around now, give these a bit of a watering, and they'll be set for the day. Well, it's 9:15 and the sun is getting a bit high in the sky. Temperatures are really soaring now. I can feel the intensity of the heat. Every time I look at these squash, they seem to be just growing that much faster. So that's encouraging. And we've got some really great growth on 2 or 3 of these. Okay, well, that's me done for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. And my next video, as I say, will be coming from Danny's allotment. So I'm looking forward to that. Well, if you want my videos, get my uploads, click on that bell at the top, and you can get the uploads every Wednesday and every Sunday at 8 PM. And, well, why not like and subscribe? And I'll see you next week at Danny's allotment.